So we're going to be looking at Xrefs today. Xrefs are available in AutoCAD and any of the vertical products. So your Civil 3D, your AutoCAD map, architecture, any of those ones. And it's also available in BricsCAD. The BricsCAD tools are slightly different than what we'll be looking at today. We'll be looking at AutoCAD 2021. However, with AutoCAD, the external reference tools haven't really changed in quite a few years. So if you're on older versions, what you're learning or what you're being shown today will be of assistance no matter what version. Xrefs have been in AutoCAD for as long as I remember, and I started on release 11, which was many, many years ago. So what is an external reference? In AutoCAD and BricsCAD, we just refer to them as Xrefs, just to abbreviate, and the commands that are linked with external references generally have Xref in their name somewhere. An Xref is different than an insertion of a drawing. When you insert a drawing into a AutoCAD or into a CAD file, that inserted block is a static block, and if it was to change, you'd have to manually change it in the drawing, or you'd have to redefine the block in your drawing by bringing in an external file once more. Whereas with an Xref, we can actually reference those external files, and any files that are modified, that are attached to your current drawing, will update in your current drawing. So you can have multiple people using the same reference files. So there might be a layout plan of a building, and someone's doing the electrics, and someone's doing the drainage, and someone's doing some other component. If we use reference files, these people can continue working on their drawings, and whoever's working on the master drawing or referencing those drawings, they'll be able to load the current version of that drawing into their current drawing. So an Xref file is always current, no matter what, until it gets bound into the drawing. When it's bound into the drawing, it just becomes a regular insertion, a regular block in your drawing. So the benefits of an Xref is it's always current, and there's no need to update the reference files or the blocks that you may be bringing in that are attached to the external reference. So today we're going to be having a look at attaching external references and detaching them. We'll also look at notifications that we'll be getting on screen when someone's modified an Xref, and I'll go through and I'll modify a couple of Xrefs when we've inserted them into the drawing. We'll have a look at pathing, how to locate the Xreference files. The Xreference files do not have to be in the same folder as your master drawing. In fact, they could be located anywhere on your hard drive or on your server, and there are tools to set in AutoCAD that will direct it to look at certain folders and things. So we'll be looking at that as well. We'll look at layers with Xreferences and the overrides that can be applied to them. So we can have the original drawing that's being Xrefed into our current file can have multiple colors and line types and things applied to the master drawing. But when it comes into your the drawing that you're referencing the file into, you have full control over the layers and the display of that Xref. And the Xrefs can also be clipped. So similar to a viewport or similar to images or DWF files, clipping is available for external references, and we'll have a quick look at that. We'll also have a look at nesting external references. So we might have a layout plan that's got references for the electricals, for the drainage and all that sort of stuff in there. And we may have a master drawing, and we bring that layout plan into our current drawing, and you'll find that all the nested X references will come through under certain conditions. And then we'll have a look at archiving, and that involves binding the Xref into your drawing, choosing how it gets bound into our drawing, and how we can manage network locations and things like that. And so we may as well just get into it. I've got AutoCAD running at the moment. I've got AutoCAD 2021. The commands will be pretty much the same no matter which version of AutoCAD you're using, the interface may be slightly different for products that are probably about 7 or 8 years old. However, I suspect that most people are on the current version. Okay, I have a drawing here that has Xreferences in it. When I have Xreferences in my drawing, we find that we have this little icon appears down here. If I have a look in my in a drawing here with no Xreferences, that icon isn't here. So we can click on here and we can bring up the Xreferences dialog box. We can go to the View tab and we have Xreferences here. So that will bring up the Xref Manager. We also have on the Tools menu, which I don't have. Sorry, I don't have Tools. I was looking in Civil 3D for that one. At the command prompt, we can type external references, the whole word if we want. And that brings up the external references window. We also have a command called X-attach, and this is a command line version as well. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to show you the basic Xref Manager to start with, just to explain what is happening in here. And then I'll go into a blank drawing and I'll create the Xreferences in here, and we'll get a similar display to what we have here. So in my drawing, I have these files attached to my drawing. The one with the asterisk up the top is my master drawing, which is my current drawing up here. And we'll see that we have these files attached to our drawing. I may have images as well, and they will all show up in this window. It's a bit difficult to see what's referenced in what way here. So we do have this button here that says Tree View, and we can actually show how the references are brought into our drawing. So we have our master drawing. We have an Xreference called Factory Landscape M. When I click on that one, you'll see in my drawing that the Xref will highlight on screen. My next one down is Factory Floor Plan M, and that's highlighting the whole of these three files here. My factory floor plan has Xreferences attached to it, so they're being brought in when I bring in the factory floor plan. When I select this button here, it highlights the whole Xreference. If I click on the next entry, it will only highlight that file. If I click on the next one, it will highlight that one. I've also got a DWF file in here, and that highlights when I select that. We can change the names of our Xreference if we want to by just clicking slowly, 2 clicks, and I can just rename this to whatever I want. It doesn't have to be anything to do with the file name. So, my layout is called layout now. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a look, and we'll step through attaching reference files, what we look for when we attach the reference files, and how we control the layers. Before we get going, I'll just show you how the Layer Manager displays reference files. You'll see in here that we have entries that say all, which will be all our layers. And you'll see on the right-hand side that we have some that are full contrast and some that are grayed out. These ones that are grayed out are actually Xreference layers. When we look at this entry here, hold on, I'll just bring up the Xref Manager again. I'll just bring that to the side. So we see here we have Factory Electric-M, a vertical bar border. So this signifies that the file Factory Electric M is attached, and the layer in that drawing that has come through is called border. So with all these files, sorry, didn't mean to double click there. So these entries here have come from an Xreference called Factory Electric-M, and it shows all the layers that are in that drawing. Then we come down and we have Factory Floor Plan and all those layers in there, and we have Factory Lighting. So that's all our layers. We can actually expand Xreference or Xref, and we'll see that we can see the layers that are applicable to each Xreference in here. And then we have Xreference overrides. We'll have a look at the Xreference overrides when we start putting our drawing together. So we'll also notice when we attach Xreferences, it brings in the text styles that are in our drawing. So this one here, layout, vertical bar standard, that style is coming from the Xreference called layout. You'll also find if there's dimension styles, they'll be listed in here as well with a bar in the name. Same with line types. Any of the objects that come through from your drawing will have the prefix of the source drawing as their name. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open a file, a blank file. I'll just bring this out of the way just a moment, and I'm just going to load a file called factory site. So what we're going to do in this drawing here is we're going to make this same setup happen in this drawing here. So what we need to do is we need to start the Xref command to start with, and I'll just click on that button and it brings up the Xref Manager. When you are importing an Xreference, it will generally go onto the current layer. Sometimes that's not a good idea, and if we put them onto a certain layer, we can actually tell the Xrefs to all freeze and all stay on. There is a command in AutoCAD called Xref Layer. It's only on the command line, but if I import a drawing, sorry, I'll just remove that one. I'll attach a single drawing. I'll just go to my folder. I'll insert factory site, open, and we're presented with a similar window than what we do with inserting blocks. So we can specify the scale, we can specify the insertion point, we can specify the path type. The path type may be relative to our current drawing. If the Xref is in our current folder where the drawing is, we can put it to no path, or if the Xref is located elsewhere on your hard drive or on a network separate from your drawing, you can specify full path. There is also a system variable in here where we can override these entries no matter what they are. We can also specify rotation and the units. And we also have here a reference type. The reference type can be quite important. When you attach an Xreference to a drawing, whatever file that Xref is attached to, it will come through. If it's an overlaid file, it will not display in your current drawing. And I'll show you the different types in a short while and what the implications of doing that is. But just please be aware at the moment, we have these settings here. They can all be modified from the properties window if you need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in factory site. I'm going to accept the defaults of scale and insertion point and rotation, and I'll leave it at relative path. So click OK. Sorry, I've tried to bring in the wrong file there. Sorry, it's floor plan I was after. I was trying to bring in my own drawing, which won't work for me. So there's my factory floor plan. So I've got that one in here. I might want to bring in my landscape plan. So I'll just bring that in. I'll accept the defaults to bring that one in. So I'll just go to 0, 0, and it'll place it in the correct position. I'm also going to apply I'm going to attach a DWF file just for the layout, and I'll accept the defaults on that one as well. So you see we've got our DWF here and we've got our site here. I could also bring in my lighting and my electrics. However, I'm not going to do that for this drawing. I want them to stay with my floor plan. So I'm going to edit the floor plan, and I'm going to attach these two files here. I'll attach them using the attach option initially, and then I'll change it to the overlay, and you'll be able to determine what happens when we have overlaid Xrefs and we have attached Xrefs. So I'm just going to cancel out of that one. So I want to actually add it to this X reference here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just highlight it, and I can right click and choose Edit X Reference in Place or Open Xref. When I click on Open Xref, it will open the drawing file and make that drawing current. If I click on Edit in Place, it will grey everything out in the drawing except for my X reference that I'm working with. When we edit in drawing, we are presented with these options up here as well. And as we go through the different toolbars, you'll see that they will remain on screen. I'm not going to save my changes, so I'll just click on Discard Changes. Okay. However, I'm going to now open this one, and I'm going to open it in this way here. I'll just right click on it over here, click on Open. Okay, I might want my X reference files to come onto a certain layer. I could have done this in the other drawing as well, but there is a variable that is called Xref Layer. So I'm just going to bring up the layer panel for the time being, look at all layers in here, and I don't have any Xref Layer or anything that I would choose to use in here. So I'm just going to close this. I'm going to type Xref Layer. And the entries that we have here is dot for use current, or I can specify a layer. I'm going to just call the layer Xref. So Xref Layer, when I insert an Xref into my drawing, rather than going onto the current layer of 0, it's going to create a layer called Xref. It doesn't exist at the moment, however, it's set in my drawing. When I come in here and I attach drawings to this file, I'm going to choose my lighting and my electrics. So I can choose multiple files at the one time. They're going to have the same insertion point, so that's okay. So I'll just go Open, I'll accept the defaults, and I'll click on OK. And now if we have a look at the Layer Manager, we should now have an Xref layer in here. And if I highlight the X references that have just come in, you'll see up here that my current layer is Xref. So that will keep them all onto the same layer. It's not like a block. You can have them all on the same layer and take control over the Xref layer insertion. While we're in here, we can have a look and we can change our layers if we want. However, we just want to go back to the factory site. We'll just leave these as default. I'm just going to close this file, click on Yes, and I'll go to factory site. And now we see down in the bottom right-hand corner here, we're being notified that the Xref was modified. We have the option here to click on Reload Factory Floor Plan M, and we can also compare the changes. I won't click on Compare Changes. I'm just going to accept the changes that have been made to the floor plan. I know what I've done to it. I've added the electrical and the drainage. So I'll just click on that. And now we find that we have now inserted or updated the factory floor plan M, and it's also brought through these attached references also. If I come back in and I open the factory floor plan, I'll select this Xref here, which is factory electric. So when I click on the Xref, you'll see that it highlights in the list. will get selected. So I'm just going to go this one, and the attachment type I'm going to change is to overlay. So we have one that is attached, which is the lighting, and that's these ones through here. And we have electric. Electric is overlay, lighting is attached. So these lines will come through because they are attached to this X reference. These ones will not come through to my master drawing because they are an overlay attachment. So if we close this one now, save the changes, click on Reload Factory, and you'll see that now, with that one being an overlay, it does not come through into my current drawing. So you could build up a base plan and reference that base plan into something and into a master drawing, and you can get it that certain Xrefs don't come through, or you can just go through and you can turn all the Xref layers off that are applicable for that Xref. Or the other option is, if we don't want it in here, we can actually right-click on here and we can click on Unload. So now we're just back to our factory floor plan without the lighting. If I want to bring it back in, I can just click on Reload, just right-click, Reload, and that information will come back in. I could separately attach the, we've got lighting in here. I could attach the electric one directly into here. Even though it's attached to this other drawing, that version does not come through to my current drawing. So you can set up levels as deep as you want with the Xrefs, and you have control over those. So we'll have a look at our, sorry, just going through my list here. So we can have a look at our Layer Manager now. As you recall, we have the Xrefs in here that are separate. We have all non-X-reference layers. They're just the layers within my current drawing. Any of these ones I can change, I can modify, I can rename as I like. And the X-reference layers, I'm unable to change those at all with names. However, I am able to control the display of them. So I might want to turn off certain layers. I can actually change the color of them. I'll just go Control A. I'll choose a single color. I'll just go a light gray for that one. And now, once I've done some changes here, you'll see here that we have an entry that says Xref overrides. These Xref overrides will display in our current drawing. I'll just get it so we can see a little bit more there. So we can see that they're gray. If I come in here and I right-click, reset layer properties, I'll remove all the overrides, and you'll see that our colors come back to what they would be in the normal drawing. You can come through and change any of the settings on these layers. You cannot rename. So, I can turn these layers off, I can freeze them, I can do whatever I want, and then they become Xref overrides. So if you've modified an Xref, please go into the overrides area and you'll find that everything with an override will be listed in here. So you can add additional changes. They will still list in here, but if you've got overrides, the easiest place to locate them is to come into this area here. So with an Xref, we can clip an Xref as well. Say we only want this area in here to display. I can clip the DWF, so I'll just right-click and I'll clip that one, and I'll create a border. I'll just go through a tree just to show you what happens, and another one here. So we've still got X reference in here. So what I want to do is I want the X reference to only display this border here, or up to this border. So if we highlight an Xref, we can right click, we can click on Clip Xref. I'm just going to go New Border, Rectangular, and I'm going to choose those same points. So once we clip it, you'll see that the additional information around our drawing has disappeared. You also have the option here, to cut a hole into your X reference if you want. So if I reverse the arrow, it's showing everything that's outside the window. If I click that again, it will show everything that's within the window. These can be stretched and moved however you like. So once you put the rectangle in, it doesn't matter where it's placed, it will stay in control. We can clip X reference, and I'll just click on delete, and that will return it to how it was. We can also right click and we'll clip once again, and this time we'll go generate polyline, new boundary, polygonal, and I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to trim. So we have the boundary there, and we can move that around as we like. Similar to a viewport or similar to image clipping, it's the same sort of concept. You will find that there will be a frame in here as well, and to hide that one, the command is xclip frame, and if we change that to 0, that frame will disappear. If we highlight the X reference, that frame will become available to you, and you are able to modify that. If the frame is left to display, it will plot. So, you may want to get rid of the frames. There's also, hold on, just check. Yep, you'll have to select and hide your frame, or xclip frame, turn the frame off. So that's pretty much got that drawing up to the same or similar to what we've got here. I've got slightly different boundaries, but that's fine.
Selwyn, there is a discussion point about the fact that clipping can significantly reduce, big Xref drawings, although you've already got, an Xref in there.
Yeah. Hold on, I'll just save. There is a variable. Hold on, I've just gone blank. I'll remember it shortly.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But I'm aware that there is a file size reduction.
There is,
if you
yes.
clip the Xref as well as use it.
Yeah, which sort of it's demand load.
That's right. Yeah.
Demand load. Yeah, that's not really what we're after here. However, I'll cover that in just a moment.
Yeah, no problem. All good. All good.
Okay. Anything else, Jonathan, while we're going through?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So we have the X reference in here. We have this window down here, or this displays when we've attached X references. If we right click on entry, we can reload the drawing X references at any time. We can come up here and we can reload, select the items, and you can reload up here. You can unload if you don't need. And if you don't need the file attached any longer, you used to have to detach the X reference file, but with the later releases, we can just delete the X reference out of our drawing using the erase command. And when we reopen the drawing, that reference will be removed. With the older versions, that would be still there. However, it would say that it's unreferenced. So the safer way is just right click and choose detach if you need to remove an X reference in an older version, whereas the erase command is fine for later versions. We might find that we have reference files that are applicable for multiple jobs. There is a way of getting around that in AutoCAD. I'll just show a Windows Windows Explorer. In this, in here on my drive C, I've got a folder here called References. These apply to a job that I've got situated on my desktop, and it's located in this folder here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to open the DST file, which is the sheet set for that job. So I'll just open that one, and I'm just going to open one of these files here. Initially, my reference files were in a folder called Reference underneath my current folder. So when I open this drawing, it's telling me that it can't find these particular X references in my drawing. However, I was fortunate when I set up these drawings initially that I used a system variable called project name. If I just type project name at the command line, you'll see here that it says enter new value for project name or period for none. However, my project name that I have applied to this drawing and all these drawings in here is ML12001. AutoCAD doesn't know what to do with that project name entry, so we're just going to have a look in options. You may not have realized, but there's actually a project files search path entry in here under files, project files search path. If I expand this, there'll be no entries. However, if I add one with the same name as my project name, which I cannot remember offhand, hold on, sorry. Project name ML12001. Back into options. So 12001 is the same name as what I had for the project name. So I've now created a project name in my settings. These settings will go through to any session of AutoCAD that you start up. So if the project name of ML12001, I think I've got too many zeros in there, comes up, it will search in whatever the path is that's stated in here. I don't have a path at the moment, so I'm just going to add that folder on my hard drive. I'll just go to drive C. I'll go to the references folder here, select that one, click on open, and that entry becomes the entry for ML12001. Click on OK. There's only 2 zeros. I'll go back into options. Sorry about this, guys. Didn't think it looked right. So ML12001 is the same as my project name. Nothing's happened in here. I can come down here, right-click, reload drawing, X references. Nothing will happen. However, if I close this drawing, I'll reopen it. Same drawing. Takes a little bit longer to load because it's actually found the reference files. And it's loaded all the reference files that are in that drawing. So we can see here that we have nested X references. Once I can get this down here a little bit. So there's quite a lot. I've got a design reference file that's got all these ones attached to it. You'll notice here that there is a little red arrow. That signifies that that X reference isn't loaded into the current drawing. So there's a lot of things attached here. The legends are X references, so if they needed to be changed, they just get updated as a single file. So if I open that one, I can come in here and I can make whatever changes I need in here. Save my changes. I'll just get rid of that white background if I can. Actually, I'll just get rid of the polyline. I'll save that. Close it. And then I get this warning, reload, and it comes in without that boundary on it. And any of the other drawings in here, they'll load. They all have the ML12001 project name attached. and you'll see that the reference file doesn't have the red around it either. I can come in and I can move the X reference files somewhere on my network or something like that. And all I need to do is just come in, back into options, back into project files, search path, keep that entry there, and then I would just change that path to wherever they may be located. So you don't have to worry about the pathing. You can set a project path, and it can become really handy. This job was done in, I think, 6 or 7 different stages, and the reference files were all retained in the one place, and they were able to be followed around quite easily to be updated and repathed. So while we're in here, we're just going to have a look at some of the display things that we have for our reference files. You'll probably notice when we attach reference files, they come in grayed or slightly faded. We can change the fade quality of those. So if it's set to -90, they'll come in as full weight. If we come back into options and we change it to something lower, we'll find that the reference files will fade out. So you can see the X reference files are faded, but the actual data in our drawing is shown as full strength. So sometimes it's easier to see what's in our drawing or what we can modify in our drawing to be able to work out what's the XREF and what isn't. If we have a look at model space in this drawing, I'll turn the display back onto full. Just so they become full contrast again. We've got a reference file. If I open one of these, I'll just click on that, right click, open X reference, click on design, open, and it will open the X reference file for me. It will load all the other files for me as well. And this is my reference file that I have attached to my drawing. You will notice that in my main drawing here, I've only got a small window showing, window 55. So if I come along here, I should find 55 somewhere in here. There will be a 55 somewhere there. And you'll see that I've actually clipped the window around these images here. So we've got an X reference, it's been clipped. So I can change the clipping for it if I want. I'll grab another X reference. I can change the clipping on that one as well. And you can see that it's actually starting to build up based on the clipping boundaries. I can reverse this one and it will show the external or the additional parts of the XREF rather than the internal part. And you can also crop, little sections out. You can add additional clip boundaries to your X references. And if we have a look at the layers in this window, we've got loads of Xref attachments, and we have a list of the Xref overrides. We may find that when we close our drawing and we've got X reference overrides, I'll just come in here. I'll add some more overrides in here. I'll just change the color. Just go cyan because that should stand out a bit. Okay, when we close a drawing with X reference in it, sometimes it won't save the layer overrides and things that we make in the drawing. Those controls are set with a tool called Viz Retain. So if I type Viz Retain at the command line, 0 is to forget the settings that I've made. So I'll just go save. I'll go back into factory site. And I'll have a look at my layer now. There are no overrides in here. So with Viz retain set to 0, it won't remember any of the overrides that you may make for the X reference layers. If I change Viz retain I'll change Viz retain to 1. I'll create a couple, I'll do overrides on a few of these. I'll just change color. I'll go red, and I'll do the whole of the layout. Let's go red. So we have these overrides. I've set Viz retain to 1. I'll now save this drawing. Yes. I'll reopen this drawing. Sorry, wrong one. I just saw the red there. And you'll see it's retained the settings for our layers. That's all because we set Viz retain to 1. So if you do changes to your X references of the layers or any of that sort of stuff, ensure that Viz retain is set to 1. Normally this would be set in the template that you use to start a drawing with. And you may go through and do a lot of changes, close your drawing, and all those changes are forgotten. And that's because Viz retain is set to 0. We're just going to have another look at options just quickly. We had a look at the Xref display. We'll also have a look at the open and save options in here. We have this area. There's only 2 places in the settings for Xref information. That's this one here, and also on save and, sorry, open and save. We have options here. There's 3 options. Demand load X references. What that does is it loads the X references when your master drawing is opened. However, when you open the drawing, we can get them to be disabled, so it will display the previous version of the X references. We can enable demand load, which allows you to demand load X references. It means that they'll be current when you reload your drawing, and enable with copy. Enable with copy will put a copy of your X references into your temp folder, and thus allowing other people to open your drawing that you're referencing. We also have this entry here, allow others to Xref current draw, sorry, ref edit current drawing. So others can come in and modify your current drawing while you're working on it. That may be an issue for some people. However, sometimes people need to come in and modify the drawing that you actually are working on. Other people, with the X references you've attached, other people will also be able to attach those X references. People will be able to edit those X references. And so enable with copy is probably the way to go. If you've got a slow network as well, enable with copy will speed up the results when it reloads. It will do that initial copy. It will place a temporary file in the network location, and it will query that file on the network to see if that file has been updated. If that file has been updated, you would then be prompted to update the reference files in your drawing. There's also, with your pathing with the X references, we'll see here we have, if I click on one of these, so I'll click on a master one, we've got a saved path in here. You can repath. You can come in here and you can choose the location of the X references manually, or I would suggest using the project name, or there's also in the Autodesk tools, if we just on the start bar, we go to all programs, go to the Autodesk entry. Sorry, not the Autodesk entry. We'll go to AutoCAD 2020, and whichever version you have installed, there'll be a Reference Manager option in there as well. The Reference Manager, if I add drawings, I'll add my stuff that I have on the desktop. Let's go into Xrefs. I'll go into Civil, and I'll just grab a couple of those, open, add all X references. I should have chosen a few less drawings, I suspect. And this will show us the X references and all the support files that are required for these drawings. You can come through here and you'll see that you'll have different status, and it says not found. We can actually go through, click them, right click, and we can edit the selected paths on them all, and we can hard code the path into our drawings. So we just click the location where they may be. Okay, and then it would update these. So you can come through and you can check your fonts, your plot configurations, plot styles, any of that sort of stuff. We can also view them by reference type. So all the drawings, we can have a look at the X references that are in these selected drawings, and we can repath them based on the name. So you can come through, highlight, right click, edit selected paths, and we can change that path. I'll just go drive C. I know this, and I'll go down to references. Okay, and you'll see that now it's found the path and it's been resolved. And once that's been done, click on that file and click on apply changes, and it will save the drawings with those paths hard coded into your drawings. So if your paths get lost with X references, you can use the Reference Manager that's located in the tools for your current version of your Autodesk software. You can use the project name. However, you need to remember to add the project name to each of your drawings, and that's a system variable. So you just type project name and enter the name of the project, and then you would go to options and you'd add the project name and the path for those reference files in there. So I might just stop that, get that one out of the way. We also, I've just lost my train of thought just now.
Just while Selwyn's getting back into his schedule. Folks, if you have got any other questions or any questions, we've had a couple of comments from one or two experienced users. But if you have got any sort of questions in regards to what you're seeing, feel free to use the Q&A panel at any point if you want. How you going, Selwyn? You're back on track?
I switched to AutoCAD for a reason, and I've gone blank. So we've looked at archiving. Oh, sorry. Yep, I know where I was going. Binding an X reference into AutoCAD, into your current drawing. So as you know, with an X reference, it's an external file. We may be going to archive our drawings at some stage, and we want to insert or bind the reference file into our current drawing. To do that, we can click on the X reference, right click, and there'll be a bind option in here if it's available. That's a nested one that I just chose. We can come over here and we have the bind option here because it's a master reference file. There's two types of binding when you're binding an X reference into AutoCAD. The options are bind. When we click on the bind button, the layers, if we have a look at layers, we have a look at these ones here, how it says factory electric M, and it's got a bar, vertical bar, then viewports. It would bring that layer into my drawing called factory electric $M $bar $viewports to signify that it's come from an X reference. If we use the insert command when we bind, it will insert the X reference layers. However, if the layer exists in your current drawing, it will take on the properties of that layer in your current drawing, unless the objects have specific settings applied to them, like color or something like that. So I'm just going to bind landscape, and we'll just have a look what happens with that one. So I'll click on bind. It's gone out of this list. I'll bring up the layer manager, and we now find that we won't have that layer in here. Sorry, that X reference in here. However, if we go up to layers and we scroll through, we now find, sorry, it's a 0, not a bar. We have factory landscape -M $0 border. That signifies that that has come from an X reference, and that reference file was called factory landscape M. And that's the layer that exists in the original drawing. I'm now going to bind factory electric M. However, I'm going to use the insert option this time. So I'll click on insert, click on OK, and we'll now find that we have normal layers in here. So it's removed the name of the Xref, and it's just brought in the actual names of our layers. If any of those layers existed in our current drawing, the X reference layers will be merged with those layers. When it's been inserted or attached to our drawing, it comes in as a block. So I can do the normal. I'll just go into block editor, and now it's just a block. If we click on one of these entries here, you'll see that the layers up here are just normal layers. If I close that one and I choose hold on, wrong one. I've lost that other Xref. Hold on, I'll just go factory floor plan. I'll bind that one. I'll insert. No, I'll bind that one, sorry. And I'll go in and edit this one, block editor. If I have a look at the layers in here, they've got the $0 in their names. So that was inserted as a bind, whereas the other one with the normal layers is inserted as an bound as an insert. So your choice whether you get it to override the current layers. Usually with X references, you don't want that to happen because the layers may be specifically set a certain way in your X reference. If you bring it in, bind it, and then insert it as a bound X reference, it'll retain all the layer overrides that you had, and the display will be as you expect it to be.
So folks, thank you very much for attending. The schedule for the remainder of the month you can see hopefully on screen in front, well you can see in front of you now. Civil 3D Grading and Feature Lines 101 next week, followed by Stringer Pack Mode and A-Spec, which will be at the end of the month. If you have any feedback, you can provide it through here, even feedback or commentary on how we could do better, even with, even a webcast such as this. Please go to the website and provide us with feedback. And if you do want to just keep in touch with regular content from us, or that someone would be interested in watching the webcasts regularly and they don't get the newsletter, they can just sign up here and subscribe, specifically picking live webcast events, nothing else. We won't send them anything else. And that means they'll get that newsletter, which basically prompts you to register for our webcast. So thank you very much for your attendance. We look forward to all seeing you very, very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.